Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss the 5 weirdest things that you will want to know about Maryland homes, and we're going to get started right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information that you are looking for, you are definitely in the right spot. Make sure to hit subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you are made aware of the new videos that we do here on the channel each and every week. And if you are thinking about moving here to the state of Maryland, if you're wondering whether purchasing a home may be the right decision for you and your family, we absolutely love answering any questions you may have, assisting in any way possible with that transition of yours here to the state of Maryland. However you feel most comfortable reaching out, whether that's by phone, email, or text, days, nights, and weekends, we've got your back when moving here to the great state of Maryland. All right, everyone, so today we are discussing the 5 weirdest things that you'll want to know about Maryland homes. And the reason why I thought about this is because I'm not from here, as I've mentioned in multiple of the videos here on this channel. I grew up in Southern California. My wife was born and raised here, so that's how we ended up here. However, I started thinking about, over my years of being here, I would run into this or that or talk to various people and just kind of figure out that this, certain thing or certain aspect about homes here in Maryland was very unique to Maryland and something that I've never seen before and something that a lot of other people haven't seen before. So today we're going to discuss, a few of those things just so you can have a heads up of what to expect when you come here to Maryland, whether you're looking to buy, rent, things that you may run into and things that you may want to be aware of. So number 1 is that surprisingly, Maryland has not that many garages. And this is something that a number of people over the years have mentioned to me as they come from different parts of the country, whether it's, the Midwest or especially down south. So I've worked with a lot of people who come up here from either the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, anywhere in the South, and they just always mention to me, why are there no garages here in Maryland? Now, there are some. I will kind of do my best to generalize this. Once you start reaching like your typical like colonial here in Maryland, that's like 2,000 to 2,200 square feet, plus that price point will vary throughout various markets here in Maryland. You're going to start seeing your 1 to 2 car garages a lot, but there's a ton of homes here in Maryland, like your ranchers, your split levels, split foyers, Cape Cods, that make up a good amount of the housing here in Maryland, where there's, no garages on a lot of those homes, especially your townhomes too. A lot of the townhomes that were built before the year 2000 that are on the smaller side, like your 17 to 2,000 square foot townhomes, you're not going to see a lot of garages on those either. So it always surprises people, especially coming from the South where the weather gets colder up here and then you see fewer garages. And the reason why I think that's concerning to people is because we do deal with a little more snow, some ice, even though it's fairly mild here in Maryland. Having a garage does help, especially on those colder days. So something to keep in mind, that you may not see that many garages here. And if that's something that's really important to you, definitely something to keep in mind so you can be on the lookout for it. Okay, number 2 is going to be the difference in temperatures from your basement up to the upper level in a lot of your 3-level homes here in Maryland. So whether that's a townhome, we've got a ton of colonials here in Maryland. So you're gonna have usually a basement, you're gonna have your main living level, and then you're gonna have most of the time your bedrooms on the highest level. And the reason why I mention this, because as I speak, I'm sitting here in my basement, here in my colonial, and it's probably 12 to 13 degrees colder here than on the upper level if you have 1 unit. So you're going to see, especially on your bigger homes, you're going to see dual zone systems or dual unit systems where you have one system that does your main level in the basement and then a second system that does the higher level. And the reason for that is because of those temperature differences that you get with only one system. All that cool air falls, the heat rises, and it can be pretty tough to sleep. We only have one system, so that may be something that we look into in the future to make sleeping more comfortable, especially during the warm months. In the winter, it's not too bad because the heat rises. The basement is always freezing, so that's something to kind of be aware of too. It's like seems to be always cold here in the winter. It's cold in the basement, and then you're setting the thermostat on the main level, so the main level and the upstairs stay pretty consistent. And then the basement always feels, 6 to 8 degrees colder. And then in the summer, this is the rough one. In the summer, with all that heat rising, if you only have one system, you're setting the temperature at the thermostat on the main level, and all that heat rises, and it gets challenging. So you're going to need ceiling fans. You're going to need, depending on the size of the home, you may want to be on the lookout for a dual system, especially if it's going to be 2,300 square feet and more. You're definitely going to want to keep that into consideration, because those temperature differences from the basement to the upper level, which is where you're going to be doing your sleeping, is real, and it's something you definitely want to be prepared for. All right, number 3 is going to be that Maryland does not always have a lot of fences when it comes to residential properties. And this was something that kind of caught me off guard. Where I grew up in Southern California, everybody had, a fence, or, their backyard somehow enclosed through gates and fences and stuff like that. So coming here and seeing so many of the properties just not have that, and kind of, wondering where the property lines are and all this stuff, was kind of a shocker to me. So depending on the communities, especially, you'll notice it in some of the older communities. So homes built, especially before 2000, there's not a lot of fences or gates in the yard. So it's something where, something to be prepared for. It can be a costly thing. So if that's something that you absolutely need due to, maybe kids or pets, that's something, if you're house hunting, to kind of keep in mind, whether you're going to need to add that or not, or whether you really want to focus on a home that has it already, because there's going to be a lot of homes here in Maryland that don't have that. So something to be on the lookout for, and something that for me was, totally different. Something that kind of caught me off guard at first. All right, number 4 is going to be, if you have a basement here in Maryland, you are almost certainly going to have a sump pump, and it's definitely something you want to be on the lookout for and make sure you're aware of. It's almost more concerning here in Maryland if you have a basement, if you don't have a sump pump versus having a sump pump. So this is something I have to explain to people, and something that I had to learn about when I moved here. And really what it is it's kind of a pit in the ground. You're always going to find them in the basement. And what it does is it collects water from the outside of the foundation through, like, French drain, some kind of corrugated piping, and it kind of collects that water, and then it's got a float in there. And when that water raises up to that level, it kicks on the motor, and it's going to basically kick the water up and shoot it to the exterior of the home and get it away from the foundation of the home. So it's really just it's a preventative thing, and almost all homes have them. You will see some homes where they call it a basement, but if the basement's not truly below the ground level, below grade, you may not see sump pumps. But if there's any part of your basement that's truly below grade, you really should have a sump pump, and it's not something to be concerned about. It's something that's really normal. And again, something that's just preventative, for flooding and just kind of water, to keep that away from your basement and all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely something to be on the lookout for, and it's not something that's going to be bad. Another thing that you'll see here in Maryland is a lot of dehumidifiers in basements. And again, that's actually pretty normal too. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a flooding problem or issues with the basement. A lot of times you actually see those dehumidifiers have some sort of hose or drainage line that actually goes into the sump pump, so it can just constantly drain and not have to be manually emptied. So things to kind of keep an eye out for that you are going to notice here in Maryland. And I will tell you, now owning a couple homes with basements, fingers crossed, I have not had any flooding issues yet, but there's a saying that goes around that there's 2 kind of basements, ones that have already flooded and ones that will flood. So something to just kind of keep an eye out for. Hopefully you'll never have to deal with that, but just kind of being preventative, being proactive of keeping an eye out for ways to keep water out of that basement and nice and dry for you. And hopefully you'll never have any issues. All right, and number 5 is going to be on the lookout for polybutylene plumbing, or the piping within the homes. And this is going to be the supply line plumbing within the residential real estate. This was a type of plumbing that was heavily installed in the mid-Atlantic region, so you're definitely going to see it here in Maryland, heavily from 1978 to 1995. It was, at that time in 1995, it was discontinued because it just started having a lot of issues with pipes bursting and being very, very leak prone. So this is definitely something as a buyer you want to be aware of, and something that you kind of stay away from, or at the very least, understand what you're walking into ahead of time. So I think over time, it took 10 to 15 years for them to figure out that this piping just, the chemicals just ate away at it, and it just did not do well. And again, it's, leak, burst prone, so it's definitely something to be aware of, and that you're gonna see, especially in homes from like 88 to 94, 95. So this is something, you know, when I'm showing homes, when I'm walking through a home with somebody, especially if it's built during those years, I'm very much aware of, you know, looking for it, making sure I'm looking under sinks in the basement and making sure I'm looking at those supply lines, and especially where that line comes in from the county, and making sure it's hopefully not that polybutylene. So you can definitely be on the lookout for that. You want to see copper, you want to see PVC, and those are all good. The poly is going to be either blue or gray typically, and it's going to have a clamp system at kind of the, you know, where the connections are. And a lot of times that's what failed. So causing homeowners a ton of damage and a ton of expenses during those years. So definitely something you want to be on the lookout so you can stay away from that when you're house hunting. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching the video. If you ever have any questions or need anything at all, please feel free to reach out, and we'll see you at the next video.